Nostro was cutting through pacifistas like a man possessed, his sword flashing faster than the eye could follow. Each swing tore through those massive machines like paper. The air itself seemed to split around him. It was like watching Mihawk carve through a fleet, only this time it was one of the 5 elders wielding power beyond reason. The Marines took this moment to rally. They couldn't let Emperor Straw Hat Luffy slip away after coming this far. Nostro muttered in disbelief, unable to fathom that Vegapunk had once given a 12-year-old child the power to annihilate an entire country, a haunting nod to what happened with the Mother Flame. Meanwhile, the Elbaf giants were making their way back toward their ship, their massive silhouettes illuminated by the chaos around Egghead. The Marines, desperate to turn the tide, aimed to sink that ship before it could leave port. But standing in their way was Vice Admiral Red King, the man with the conical head and volcanic temper. Frankie, ever the hothead himself, shouted across the field, mocking the Vice Admiral for craving attention like a washed-up Davy-back fighter. Red King powered up, flames bursting from his body as he roared that no one was leaving this island alive. Frankie just grinned. With a thunderous stomp, the Iron General Frankie Shogun rolled forward, metallic joints gleaming under the firelight. "Then move," he said, "or get mowed down." The two squared off like a pair of sumo wrestlers ready to destroy the arena. Sparks flying, metal groaning, fists primed. When they finally collided, the ground shattered beneath them. Red King swung with all his might, but Frankie met him blow for blow, sending the Vice Admiral crashing into the dirt. The man who bragged so loudly ended up eating pavement. Classic Straw Hat justice. Nearby, another battle raged. Vice Admiral Pomsky lunged toward Bonnie, shouting that she wasn't taking those weapons. Without hesitation, Bonnie turned to one of the giants, asking them to protect her father Kuma. The Marine fired midair, but she dodged with a sharp boost from her jet boots. The rage in her eyes burned brighter than ever. She snapped back, yelling that no one had the right to call her father a weapon. In a blink, she smacked him across the face, her powers activating. And just like that, the mustached Marine was reduced to a snot-nosed brat. Bonnie didn't stop there. She pummeled him mercilessly, venting years of pain and anger in every strike. It wasn't just a fight, it was personal. And for once, the world's cruelty was getting punched right in the mouth. Then, like divine timing, Atlas came roaring in from above. Her mechanical body burned with heat as she unleashed a rocket-powered punch, smashing another Vice Admiral into the ground so hard he didn't even have time to blink. But there was no time to celebrate. Bonnie shouted that the Straw Hats still hadn't arrived, and if they wanted to live, they needed to leave now. The Vice Admirals rose again, battered but unbroken, screaming that if they failed this mission, they'd lose their heads. Up in the labo phase, things were even more unsettling. York, chained to the wall, stared up in terror as a monstrous parrot loomed over her. Marcus Mars, the Elder of Fury, glared down with burning eyes. York stammered, begging him not to eat her because she didn't even taste good. Though, let's be honest, with all those snacks she hoarded, that's debatable. With a single pulse of hockey, Marcus shattered her chains. He demanded to know where the broadcast room was. After all, she was one of Vegapunk's satellites. York trembled, realizing this terrifying creature really was one of the 5 elders. But before she could even finish her sentence, he started biting into her shoulder like she was a rice cracker. Meanwhile, in the broadcast room, Shaka asked if the old man planned on finishing his Vegapunk coffee, but Stella barked that it was still too hot. Pythagoras quipped that they all knew the old man had the heat tolerance of a penguin. Only 4 minutes remained before the big reveal that would shake the world. Down below, York led Marcus to the chamber where she claimed the video was being transmitted. Mars asked if she was certain, then casually released an energy blast the size of a small nuke. The entire section of the lab disintegrated into dust. York screamed at him for being insane. Blowing up the room wouldn't stop the broadcast. And she was right. The transmission continued seamlessly because, of course, Vegapunk wasn't stupid enough to put the real Dendenmushi in the same room as the recording equipment. York explained that if she were Stella, she'd never hide the snail in plain sight. Mars simply muttered, "Fine then," and declared he'd blow up the entire lab instead. York panicked, explaining that the second floor was filled with prototype weapons, and the first floor housed the main power generators. If those went up, Punk Records, the entire collective brain of Vegapunk, would vanish with it. The parrot-like elder didn't care. He told her to think of another plan since she shared the same intellect as her creator. York blurted out that she wanted to stop the transmission too, because if the truth went public, her dream of becoming a celestial dragon would be ruined forever. But just as she spoke, Mars's head turned sharply. He'd heard something. A voice so small it shouldn't have existed. York realized what it was. The hidden transmission snail itself. Mars demanded she take him there immediately. York grinned, sly and deceitful, the kind of smirk that could sell stolen candy to kids, and led the elder away. As the two vanished into the distance, Stussy finally exhaled in relief. She turned to Kaku and roasted him, saying no one even cared about him at this point. Kaku, annoyed, asked what kind of monster Mars even was. Stussy replied that it had to be one of the 5 elders, the true rulers of the world. Kaku laughed, mocking her for being ditched even after betraying CPO. But Stussy calmly said she chose to stay. Someone had to complete the final mission. Back on the Thousand Sunny, Nami couldn't believe they were leaving Stussy behind. Edison explained that once they escaped, the barrier would automatically close and could only be controlled from inside the control room, meaning Stussy had volunteered to sacrifice her own escape. Robin nodded, saying thanks to her, they could now break through the barrier, but the Sunny wouldn't be able to travel as far as the Vega Force could have carried them. Edison ran the numbers, and his calculations painted a grim picture. According to science, the ship was absolutely going to crash and burn. Nami nearly had a heart attack while Usopp panicked, shouting that the explosive cannon was ready. The plan was simple. As soon as Zoro and Jinbei returned, they could use it to blast themselves toward the sea. But when Chopper nervously explained that even that wouldn't be enough to reach the ocean, Usopp froze in terror. The mechanical Vegapunks laughed in disbelief, saying it would take a miracle to survive. But Edison snapped back that he didn't need a miracle, he was a scientist. And as a scientist, he would make sure their ship landed safely on the water. Without hesitation, he blasted off toward the front lines, and Lilith screamed after him, begging him not to go. Edison shouted that this kind of damage was nothing, before slamming headfirst into the barrier. The impact triggered a massive explosion that rocked the island. Lilith fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face, unable to believe what she had just witnessed. Out at sea, the Navy ships were nearly being lifted off the water. The storm's wind was so violent that it was pulling everything back toward the island. Mountains crumbled under the sheer force, and even some of the Marines were swept into the mouth of the monstrous sandworm, Jupiter. The creature was sucking in air like a living black hole, and even the mighty giants of Elbaf were struggling just to stand their ground. Despite their incredible strength, they could barely move. Luffy was the first one to get dragged toward the monster's gaping maw. Just before he was swallowed whole, he used Brogy as a springboard and launched himself away from the vortex. His kick was so powerful, it split an entire building clean in half. Dory and Brogy stumbled back, watching in awe as Luffy bulked up, his muscles swelling like he'd just taken 2 doses of pre-workout. With a roar, he lifted a massive chunk of debris, practically a skyscraper, onto his back and shouted, "If that overgrown worm is hungry, then he can eat this instead." He hurled the entire structure straight into Jupiter's mouth, slamming it with all his might. But moments later, Luffy's energy ran out completely, and he shriveled up like a dried-up raisin. The giants freaked out, wondering why the fearless pirate suddenly looked like a frail old man. Luffy groaned that he needed food, and Brogy quickly handed him some Elbaf emergency rations, a dish called Hakarl, made from fermented shark. Even for someone like Luffy, who would probably eat a rock if it looked tasty, the smell alone made him hesitate. It was so putrid it could clear the air in a 5-meter radius. But with no other option, he took a bite, and instantly regretted every decision that had led him there. Still, the results were immediate. His energy surged back, his body puffed up again, and in seconds he was back to full strength. Just then, Top Man charged in, the massive boar elder barreling toward them at full speed. The giants shouted for everyone to get back, but Luffy grinned and said he was just getting started. He activated Gear 3rd, coating his fist in blazing armament hockey, and unleashed a fiery red rock straight into Top Man's face. The impact was earth-shattering, sending the elder reeling, but his hide was far tougher than Luffy expected. The recoil hurt Luffy more than his target, and the crew used the moment to retreat towards safety. Meanwhile, aboard the ship, Lilith was still sobbing uncontrollably over Edison's sacrifice. Suddenly, another explosion rocked the area, and a horrifying noise echoed through the wreckage, the sound of a spider crawling. Saturn had returned. Tired of being toyed with by Luffy, he turned his attention to the weaker ones, determined to crush them instead. Down below, the Vice Admirals were completely wiped out. The Straw Hat crew was moments away from boarding the Elbaf ship when disaster struck. In a flash of steel, one of the giants was cut down from behind. Everyone froze in disbelief. The attacker was none other than St. Nusjuro, now in his hybrid form, eyes glowing red and blade dripping with blood. At the same time, St. Mars finally reached the hidden laboratory. Only 1 minute remained before Vegapunk's great truth could be revealed. Calm and composed, Mars walked in like a man who had all the time in the world. On the floor, he found a small transponder snail, the source of the ongoing broadcast. With a cold smile, he told Vegapunk that his luck had finally run out. Next episode, the 5 elders will stop at nothing to wipe out the Straw Hats once and for all. The world is on the edge of revelation, a truth so terrifying that the Gorosei would rather destroy the planet than let it be known. But soon, Egghead will receive a message that shakes the entire world.